Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider. It's now time for our usual From the Stand segment. And we'll be chatting with Ice Wolves followers Roger Schooley, who also happens to be the team governor, and Daniel Fink, who also happens to be the Ice Wolves play-by-play man. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks. All right. Well, yeah, very interesting week. First off, let's start with the game against the Battlefords North Stars, a home game, team up 5-2, and we know what happened. North Stars scored 4 quick goals in under 3 minutes to take the win in regulation. I'll start with you there, Daniel. What did you see in that game? Your reaction to that loss, I guess.
I don't know if I should be laughing, but I still didn't know what had happened when I got home after the game. I'd never seen anything like it. Even in video games or something like that, or in like some hockey movie, you don't see things like that. 4 goals in 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Up in the broadcast booth, Dan O'Connor was beside himself.
North Stars play-by-play guy, yeah.
He didn't understand what had happened. After he got off the air for a commercial break, he just looked at all of us and said, "What happened?"
Yeah.
There's not a lot you can really get into it other than monumental collapse. I don't.
Roger, what did you see? Did you see it more as a North Stars comeback or an Ice Wolves collapse?
Oh, I think that was a terrible game from start to finish. But you know, that's the beauty and the bad of the SJHL. You're never out of the game, and sometimes you're never safe in the game. You know, it's almost like the CFL where till the last gun shot, you don't know what's going on. You know, you get up 5-2. Maybe you didn't deserve to be up 5-2, but played well enough to have a lead, I think. And then you know, maybe we sat back. No, there was no pressure, no forecheck, you know, third period to speak of, and we just avoided the body at all costs. So, you know, that happens, and a couple of bad breaks for Barco, and they're back in the game, and then Big Mo was running by that point, momentum, and what do you do?
Yeah, then later in the week, obviously they faced the Notre Dame Hounds, ended up winning that game, but again, the game saw them surrender. I think it was like a 4-goal lead again there. Yeah. Your take on the Notre Dame Hounds, the win over Notre Dame there, Daniel?
Well, I spoke to Coach Bob Beattie after the Battlefords game and after the Hounds game, and he was a lot happier with the Hounds game. Obviously, they won, but he just felt that they had a stronger forecheck. They were in the game. Their team play was a lot better. That's what he harped on a lot after the Battlefords game. And really, in the Hounds game, it really just seemed like, again, they let their foot off the gas, and this seems to be a real big problem with this team. They jump out to leads, or they'll surrender an early goal, get ahead, and let a team back in. Since the first couple games they've played, they haven't legitimately won a game by 2 goals or more. They've got some empty net goals at the end of games, but other than that, it's all been games they've gotten out to a lead and let teams back in. They just don't have that killer instinct, it looks like.
We'll get to that in a second. Roger, what did you see in the Notre Dame game?
Well, you know, pretty much like Daniel said, you know, I don't think it's a big surprise with this team at this point now in this year that we're giving up goals. Like, you take the top 4 guys off the, you know, our big 4 from last year, they're gone. You basically have 2 returning vets and a young core of defensemen. So, you know, I think Bob would tell you that he knew we'd score goals or thought we'd be able to score lots of goals, and that keeping the puck out of the net might be a bit of an issue this year. And, you know, it makes for exciting hockey, but it is frustrating to watch at points. That's for sure.
So you think it's a reflection more of the turnover on the team's blue line more than anything else?
Well, I think so, and you know, he's made some moves to bring in some guys. You know, we lost Dustin and Alexander and McPherson. That's pretty big. And then, you know, Robert Montfort would be a guy that if he had come back would be, you know, in your top 4 for sure. So that changes the dynamics, and you know, kind of makes it, you know, you're maybe giving up a couple less goals a game because you're that much stronger. But I know Bob's looking for players, so we'll have defense here, but
yeah,
you know, before too long.
Speaking of which, he did add a player on the blue line, Byron Sorensen. I believe this is a guy that Bob has been eyeing for quite some time. I think you guys both had a chance to perhaps see him play. I'm not sure how much you saw of him. Daniel, what did you think of him?
I really liked his game. Coach Beattie's always saying that he's a good 2-way defenseman, and from what I saw, that's exactly what he is. Saw some power play time. He's got a decent shot, good instincts. He hasn't played since March. That was his first game since March, and he had some good one-on-one play. Smart player. He just knows what's going on. Great vision of the ice. Really like him. I think he's going to get better and better through the season.
Roger, what did you think of his first game?
Oh, I would agree. His first two steps are pretty impressive for a guy that hasn't played, like you said, since March. He's good that way. He threw a couple of hits early in the game to get into the game. I think that's probably was by design as much as anything. But yeah, he looked good. I think he's a guy I know Bob's been, like you said, has been looking at for a while. I believe he was actually our list player to begin with when he was in midget. So I know Bob's happy to have him back in the fold. So.
And Daniel, I promise I'll get back to that about taking the foot off the gas pedal there. You see this team, though, getting over that at some point at the season, maybe with just a little bit more chemistry, maybe perhaps a couple of player moves. What do you see, I guess, in the future for this Ice Wolves team this season?
Well, it's like we've been saying, it's definitely a team that's built to outscore. It's not really going to get the defensive stops all the time, but as this defensive core gets older, more experienced, it's amazing to see some of the players getting better from game to game. I'll use Ben Bula as an example. I saw him in one game and wondered, what's he doing here? He's making wrong plays, making bad decisions. Next game looks a little better. Next game looks a little better. Then I see him against Yorkton, and he looked right at home. So as this season progresses, that young core of defensemen is going to get better, and the outlook on defense is pretty good for this team in upcoming seasons as well.
Roger, what do you see this team doing?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think the team was built by design to score. I think it's just what kind of was left over from the team last year. When I say left over, I don't mean second grade. I just mean that was the skill that Bob was handed at the beginning of the season, and you deal with what you've got, and you're not gonna lock down and shut down teams and win 2-1 games with this group at this point. So I think you try to outscore and hope to improve your defense as time goes on, and work on your own zone and continue to score goals whenever you get the chance. I think what we're looking at. So.
Well, Roger, Daniel, thanks very much for being on the program tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right. If you're just joining us, this has been another edition of Ice Wolves Insider, and from the stands, we'll be right back to wrap things up. Well, that's all the time we have for this evening's edition of Ice Wolves Insider. I want to thank our special guests this evening. That would be Ice Wolves assistant coach Gavin Holcomb, as well as Ice Wolves players Richard Cameron and Byron Sorensen, and of course our fans. That would be Roger Schooley and Daniel Fink. We'll see you next week.